I want to talk about a story that I think is rather concerning. Do you realise that we, the British taxpayer, are forking out, shelling out £100 million a year to keep 2,000 foreign criminals in jail, in British jails? All of these criminals should be serving their sentences. They should be behind bars in their own countries due to mutual agreements between Britain and their various countries. So there are several countries around the world. We have a deal where if a foreigner, one of their national citizens commits a crime here that is imprisonable, instead of them going to a British jail, they go directly back to their own countries to serve the jail sentence back there. And it's reciprocal. Obviously, if British people do it there, they come back here. So it seems a reasonable system. However, seems like not many of them are actually doing this, and they're staying in British jails, and it's costing us a staggering £100 million a year. This, ladies and gentlemen, is not good. Let's talk to the chairman of Migration Watch, Alp Mehmet. Good morning, Alp.
Morning to you, sir.
Why are these criminals, these 2,000 or so foreign crooks who are in jail in Britain, when they should have been immediately shipped back to their own country upon sentencing due to reciprocal national agreements, why do they go to British jails, and why are they still residing there?
Very good question. The fact is that there are fewer and fewer of them being returned in this way. Not only are these, I mean, it's over 2,000, it's 2,167, if I remember rightly. That's a lot of people. The reason why they don't go back is, for example, they lodge an appeal. They can lodge an appeal because the conditions of the prison that they're going to go back to is not considered good enough. They can lodge an appeal because of, on humanitarian grounds, say. So there is any number of appeals and devices that they can use in order to stay here. But the thing is that we signed up with these 6 countries, and there's a lot more deals, frankly. It's not just these 6 countries. There's about 100 where we have similar deals with, but there's no compulsion. The one thing that we can't do in this particular case is compel the prisoners to go back or to be sent back in the way that we've agreed and their countries have
Why
agreed.
not? Why not, Alp? Why can't we compel them to go back? This is international deals. Surely, once they get sentenced, with these countries, we've got 6 nations where there are very hard and fast reciprocal arrangements. Albania, I think, being one of them. Surely, the point of sentencing, you are guilty. You've got 10 years due to our deal with Albania or wherever. You go straight back to Albania. Why cannot we compel them to do that?
Well, we tried to compel, and then they appeal against their removal. There are other reasons, of course, if they don't have any documents, and quite often they will destroy their documents. Then there is the problem of getting their countries, their own states, to issue them with the relevant documents. Now, we can actually override that, but it takes time. On average, after completing their sentences, it takes something like 5 months to arrange for them to go back. Now, I would say, why doesn't the government actually start the process a lot sooner rather than, it seems, leaving it to the last moment? It's not good enough, frankly. We can compel them, we must compel them, and the fact that it's not happening is either because there are faults in the law, or our own politicians don't have the will to do it. And that, I'm afraid, is where we're at the moment. Yeah, there is a lack of will in enforcement, in enforcing immigration law. And it's not just on this, it extends to other areas as well. The number of people overall being returned is going down. The number of people who are being allowed to stay here for all sorts of reasons, generally humanitarian because of they've got connections here. All these the numbers of refusals, the numbers being returned are all going down. The other thing is that when you come to something like asylum, the cross-channel, for example, we've had a massive increase in that. In the same period in 2018, there were 7 nationals, 7 illegal crossings of the channel. This month, up to this stage, we've got over 3,000, a massive increase, and that's just going up and up and up. And the reason it's going up, it's because none of those who come here, or very few of those who come here, are ever sent back. So why wouldn't they make the journey to come here?
Exactly. Now, to go back to the prison situation, I mean, what you're talking about there, Alp, is a classic case of British politicians when it comes to immigration, enforcing our borders, sovereignty, a classic example of our MPs and ministers talking the talk but not walking the walk. To go back to the prisons, these lengthy appeals mean that these foreign criminals remain in our prisons, and each one of them costs us, the British taxpayer, £43,000 a year. Now, one of the more alarming aspects of this situation is the Albanians. Albanians have a sinister grip on our organised crime in this country, and there are 57% more Albanians in our jails today than there were 12 months ago. Now, we struck this reciprocal deal with Albania 8 years ago. Why can't we just stop them appealing? Because this is the same system that happens with asylum seekers. They come across on their migrant boats sometimes, their dinghies. They don't all come by dinghies, but you know, they immediately say, I claim asylum, and we have no way to stop that lengthy process going on. And then when we decide they can't stay here, they then appeal and remain here. So it's going on behind bars as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there are over 1,500 Albanians as part of the over 2,000 that we mentioned earlier. You say, I mean, you ask a question that I can't answer. The fact is that it's ministers who should be explaining to us why they're not sending these people back. They talk tough, and a lot of them, I think, do mean well. Some of them are even quite able, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't happen. And they're afraid to press. We had an example of this only last week in Glasgow, when you had the First Minister and her Justice Minister actually intervening to support a crowd of people who knew nothing about the people who were being detained, stopping the detention. It was really interfering with the course of justice in a shocking way. So it's ministers. Part of the reason is that they don't want any comeback, I suspect. After the Windrush debacle, we frankly, we run scared of having the sort of interventions, the sort of raids that we should be having on in areas where we know there are people living there illegally without permission. All that seems to have come to a halt.
Technically, Alp, it seems to me that if we have these arrangements, as soon as they're sentenced, we could put them on a plane. If we say, right, we've sealed a deal with Albania, any British people commit crimes in Albania, they're immediately flown back here to serve their sentences, and vice versa. Once you allow an immediate appeal, then that arrangement made between the two countries, and we've made similar arrangements with 6 countries, and as you say, slightly looser arrangements with a lot of other countries. Once you allow an appeal to enable that person to stay in Britain, then the whole deal was a waste of time, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It has been a waste of time, but the fact is that the law is the law. And if legally these people can appeal, then we're not the sort of country where we're going to say, well, sorry, we we don't accept that. We're not going to accept your appeal, even though it's legal and it's perfectly proper to lodge that appeal. Now, the appeal may itself be spurious, and often is in these cases.
Of course it is.
And what we should be able to do is determine that quickly and act on it. And that is not what we're doing. We're not dealing with these cases quickly. We're allowing them to go through all the lengthy process. And then prisoners do get removed, and that is continuing. But in every other case, they're not.
And we continue to spend £100 million keeping them here, which is a bit of a scandal. Alp Mehmet, Chairman of Migration Watch, thank you so much for your time on a Saturday morning.